physics rarely makes news, but it did this past week after equipment malfunctions delayed for several months the startup of one of the biggest science experiments in history. We're talking about the Large Hadron Collider, a massive multi-billion-dollar project designed to unlock the secrets of the universe. For several years now, thousands of the world's most accomplished scientists have been gathering in Europe not to explore the heavens, but the frontiers of inner space. This is all being conducted under the auspices of the European Organization for Nuclear Research, otherwise known as Cern. But more than 80 countries are contributing money, technology, or scientists to the project. There have been Israelis and Palestinians, Indians and Pakistanis, Iranians and Americans working on the collider, and everyone will share in the scientific results. James Gillies is CERN's chief spokesman.
Do you ever worry or are concerned that you could turn this thing on and it won't work?
I think we can be pretty confident that it's going to work because everything you can possibly test along the way has been tested.
Can you give me an example of something that was created here for research purposes and changed the world?
Yeah, well, the best known one is the World Wide Web.
The system you use every day to click on links and move from one internet site to another was invented in these corridors to help scientists do research. Because CERN has been required to share its scientific discoveries, the web was given to the world for free. It's helped transform society, and private industry has made billions off of it. And scientists here anticipate similar results from their work on the collider. When they began planning it, the technology to build it didn't exist. It had to be developed by companies and laboratories in Europe, Asia, and the United States. When they began planning it, the technology to build it didn't exist. It had to be developed by companies and laboratories in Europe, Asia, and the United States. And they're planning to do it with a machine that's simply expanding on one of man's very first ideas.
You have to say, it is pretty stupid to take two things and throw them at each other as fast as you can and see what comes out.
Primitive concept.
Exactly. But we're humans, and that's all we know.
Scientist Bob Stanek has been working on the collider for 14 years. For the past 7, he's been a transatlantic commuter of sorts, spending 3 weeks here in Switzerland for every 1 week back home in Chicago, where, as his hard hat suggests, he's a die-hard Bears fan.
People have told us one of the things you're trying to do is to recreate what the universe was like a nanosecond after the Big Bang. Is that right?
That's right.
Why do you want to do that?
It's in humans' interest to know everything, right? And why wouldn't you want to know that?
Well, you want to know it, but, you know, you're spending $8 billion to find out. It must be important.
So let me ask you this question.
You can try.
Because we've studied the interactions of photons and electrons and elementary particles, we can understand how to take the light that bounces off of me and you into that camera and take that signal and put it into Mom and Pop's living room. Now, imagine, in 10 years, 20 years, will we be able to take, instead of our photons, me and you, and put them in Mom and Pop's living room? Now, imagine, in 10 years, 20 years, will we be able to take, instead of our photons, me and you, and put them in Mom and Pop's?
Powerful Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland will attempt to recreate the split second after the Big Bang, the moment scientists believe the universe was formed. In doing so, they hope to answer some of the fundamental questions of the universe and the very nature of space and time. The European Organization for Nuclear Research is gearing up for the second 3-year run of the collider, which will take place this March after a 2-year shutdown. The collider's first run saw major breakthroughs in physics, including the discovery of the elusive God particle. It helped Higgs and Englert win the 2013 Nobel Prize, nearly 50 years after they proposed the theory. The collider will run experiments at 14 trillion electron volts, twice the energy it did in its first run.
When we start again with the collisions, is that we try to mimic the circumstances from the early universe, from the Big Bang. So similar temperatures, similar conditions. And then we make particles, and we study particles that must have been around also at the very early universe. So we hope to find also new particles that can explain other mysteries we see in the universe, like dark matter, for example.
Stretching for 27 kilometres, 100 metres underground, the Large Hadron Collider is built in a circular tunnel beneath the Swiss-French border. It will fire two beams of particles in opposite directions, close to the speed of light.
The most well-recognized building at Cern is certainly the Globe of Science and Innovation. Considered Cern's headquarters, this incredible building is 40 meters in diameter and 27 meters high. In addition to the dome shape, this structure also has a hole in the top, which is covered by glass. When specially constructed, magnetic models of the Cern dome were placed in a vacuum chamber and high voltage electricity was applied, some amazing plasma formations developed. Between the two Cern dome-shaped magnetic field emitters, you will notice a sun-like sphere of plasma with an outer shell surrounding it. Then you will notice a disk of plasma around the equator of this sphere, as well as axial jets being emitted from the nucleus of the reaction. In addition, this plasma structure spins at high speeds, and solar flare-like emissions are also seen coming from the core of the reaction. Experimental parameters such as spacing and orientation of the emitters were varied to see what effects these changes had on the plasma formations that developed. In addition, several different purging gases were used to see what effect this would have on the plasma. The gases tried thus far include ordinary air, argon, hydrogen, and helium. After several days of experimentation, the magnetic models of the Cern dome were removed from the vacuum chamber and photographed. Here you can see some of the very colorful glass deposits that were formed during these plasma experiments. A large number of experiments were conducted not only with these magnetic bowls, but also with magnetic bowls of other geometries.
Someone sent me this picture from a Mayan artistic interpretation of something that looks rather like Cern. And if you notice in the artwork, you see this Cern representation here going directly down into the underworld, so showing a link to this instrument to the underworld. And some of this information is quite interesting. It's talking about Nimrod and the tower that was designed to be a stairway or gateway to heaven. The idea of a dimensional push to open a doorway to beckon a god or entity has been the challenge from Nimrod's time to the times of John Dee, Edward Kelly, Aleister Crowley, Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons. The invocations and the summoning of archons were all part of something called the Apocalypse Working. The concept was to summon various angels and later demons of the underworld to open a Stargate, or stairway to the heavens. It was actually one of the first attempts at opening a portal to another dimension and summoning spirits. It was literally a ritual to open up the secrets of the universe and converse with gods. Crowley and his followers wanted to usher in a morality more severe than any other experienced in the world. In order to accomplish this, they had to carry out powerful rituals. His methods were misunderstood, and rumour has it that they were so abhorrent that the Mussolini threw him out of Sicily, calling him a barbarian. He promised that after his death there would be a final working, or ritual, where a portal would be opened and the secret chiefs of ancient Egyptian gods would return. Two followers of Crowley, Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons, attempted to open a portal using one of Crowley's spells between 1945 and 46. It was a series of magical ceremonies called the Babylon Working. Many people believe that what came through were beings that looked like the alien Greys. Ron Hubbard went on to create Scientology, a religion that teaches that alien entities are responsible for using humans as avatars, and that alien spirits get mankind to do evil. Some believed he was attempting to open a Stargate to summon the Goetic demons. For the last 4,500 years or so, we've been waiting for another shot at opening the gate using scientific methods. We have been waiting for the right date and time for this to happen. According to Pat Holliday, PhD, this ritual of Stargate opening has continued to this day. And according to research provided, one of the main centres performing these rituals is at the Large Hadron Collider at Cern.